if you do decide to close one or both schools, you have another logistics nightmare then. How are you going to move children from one area to another? They can't really walk, so
Right.
you're going to look at more busing?
Yes, and so I believe right now our administration team, through our consultation, they felt the consultation was where are all our kids going? We were worried about how they're going to get there. Some kids are walking to Webster, some kids are already taking a bus, or I drive my child. What am I going to do? This works around my child's my work schedule with my child's school hours. And so they're working on all of what that could look like to present to us on January 6th. And so on January 6th, we would get the routes that would change, how it would work in that area for what kids would really be designated to go to what schools. And I think, too, when it comes to something like this, we heard a lot. It's very hard for parents to imagine their children having to form new friendships. Will they be going with their friends? Will they be having to go to a school where they don't know anybody? And so I think these are all sorts of questions that even I want to know, because my concern is children at the forefront of how this is going to impact them.
There is a program called the School Construction Accelerator program from the Alberta government, and it is have money, I guess, to build new schools. Is this part of that program, potentially?
This is not part of the program, but this was part of the program that had us reaching to the value scoping program to see if we would be a part of the school of the area that maybe we would be chosen to have a new school build. And that's why if you look at our capital plan, it does show that our first ask would be a brand new build on Crestwood, because the land there is so big. And we could keep kids in Crestwood being educated while we build a new school on that property. And then our second goal would be Elm Street School. But it's really hard for the government to say, hey, with 77 children, we can't give you a new build. And so that's our second priority. And then our third priority would be Vincent Massey would eventually have a new build on that land as well. Vincent Massey is the larger school between the Webster. Webster is the smaller school between the two. So that's why it would be Vincent Massey and Dr. Ken Sauer School. And just a side note, when I became a trustee and Terry Riley was the board chair, I've actually used this a lot the last couple of weeks. There was a time when we were building Dr. Sauer School, and he said, you know, we kind of got it all wrong. At the time that we got approved for the school in the north, we were looking at the growth. We were having Aurora coming in, and there was supposed to be all these businesses coming in, and houses were going to go crazy, and families were going to move into the area, and it just stopped. And so as much as we love the Dr. Ken Sauer School in the north, it's now created that extra area where we're not growing in student numbers, but we have 3 schools.
What is the time frame if a decision is made on the 6th of January that these 2 schools will be closed? Everything happen in the fall, or is there a buffer period?
So the buffer period would only be to go to the end of the year. And so the children would definitely be having new schools coming in September of next year.
Okay. Parents still have the right to put their children in another school?
Parent choice.
They're not handcuffed to this.
This is parent choice. We believe that in our division. I strongly believe in parent choice. My own children got to choose. I helped choose their school, but I sent my children to Ross Glen School when we lived on the hill. And part of the reason was, Brian, was because Central Park had closed, and it changed over to the Francophone School. Now it's torn down. But that was the school that I wanted my children to go to because I had gone there, my siblings had gone there, and it was my neighborhood school, and we lived there. And then my next choice for them was to drive them to River Heights or put them on a bus. And I just really felt like maybe one day I'd be living in the area where Ross Glen was, and Rick Massini was the principal there, and my brother-in-law was teaching there, and I just felt the connection piece for me was if I couldn't have the connection with Central Park, I'd have it with Ross Glen. And so my kids did do their education K to 6 at Ross Glen, and I drove them every day.